GameStop is one of the biggest and most famous gaming company in the world, and they base their identity for decades on selling, buying, and trading physical media. And now the CEO is saying that the future of physical disc doesn't really matter to the company. That's a very strange thing to hear for a company that is based on trading physical goods. This article from Tom's Hardware is talking about comments from GameStop CEO Ryan Cohen. He was asked about Sony moving away from physical disc and whether that affects GameStop or not. The interesting part is not what was said, but who said it in this case, which was the CEO of GameStop. This is the part that caught my attention because if you think about a company that represents the physical gaming, you would think that GameStop would be on top of that list. And hearing the CEO saying that a move from physical gaming is basically irrelevant to them is actually a pretty big statement. This is probably the most interesting part because GameStop is basically saying that selling games is no longer what's keeping the company alive. So the company has become famous for disc and is becoming now something very different. And honestly, that makes sense. You see, when you look at how much gaming has changed in the last couple of years, buying game used to be an event. You went into the store to buy or trade and look at the shelves for physical games, old games, and talk about releases with the employees. Now, a lot of that doesn't happen anymore. Everything, most of it happens online. And you don't browse the shelves anymore. You open a digital store. I did work in GameStop, in two different GameStop, and I was living in the Bronx at that time. I worked there in New York. And I remember I used to talk to the people when they came to buy games and trade, and I recommend the games. And I like that part, talking to people about games, because I enjoy it. But, managers, they always say, try to sell, try to sell, try to sell. And that ruined the experience because people will buy more, if you ask me, if you make a conversation, a legit conversation, and recommend something that, is legit. But when you just try to sell a game, people kind of feel that and it's like, I don't want to buy extra. Oh, you want extra? No, I don't want to buy that. I just came to buy this game. So, but that was one of the parts that I like. And what I didn't like was sorting all the games alphabetically because people just mess it up. You had to sort it all by name. That was painful because sometimes they were already organized, but you had to pretend that you're organizing them, and that was painful. But yeah, I had fun at GameStop. Now, there is some important context here because the article points out that GameStop's own financial report doesn't exactly match what the CEO is wording. So the exact percentage is debatable. But the point remains, which is that physical games are becoming smaller, not the main identity of GameStop anymore. And this is why I think this story is bigger than GameStop. And this is another example of how gaming is quietly changing. We went from buying physical products to access digital services. And I know digital service is more convenient, but every time gaming move in that direction, something changes. And maybe GameStop is right. Maybe physical games are no longer the future. But it's still strange seeing a company that built its name selling games saying that games themselves are no longer the main business. The question I ask is, what else are we going to lose without noticing? Do you think physical games still have a future, or is gaming past it already? I'm looking at things that we accepted as normal and that changed the way we play. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.